That's great. Thanks, Russell. Yeah, my name is Justin. I'm the Farmhouse Director at Butler's Farmhouse Cheeses. We took TransLution and SYSPRO on in 2025. We went live September or October 2025. So it is a brand new system and ERP solution in our company. I'm going to talk a little bit around how we use it for our business as a one-day into SYSPRO, and it is now a central part of our daily operations. So a little bit around Butler's first. We are a fourth generation family business. We make and sell cheese. We built a new production site in 24 and 25. Unfortunately, we had a fire to destroy one of the sites in 2023. So it was a very quick and ambitious year that we built a brand new site, and we took that opportunity to build it back exactly how we wanted it. And that meant putting in new systems as well, not just physical buildings and machines. We're very lucky to have His Majesty the King open the site earlier this year, and we're up and running using TransLution, using SYSPRO, and operating back at full capacity. So we make cheese. It's obviously a food product. It needs to be traced, and the kind of nuance with cheese is that it's a living product, very much like a wine or a whiskey, or I suppose some forms of meat. Over time, the cheese changes. It's truly a living product, so we can't make it on day one and expect it to be the same on day 30, 60, 90. It also has a use by date, a best before date, a minimum depot date. So there's quite a few variables at play with cheese compared to some other kind of standard products. SYSPRO is obviously a very large company which can adapt to a lot of markets. But I found that TransLution is a piece of software that can really kind of fit with our niche needs. So we use TransLution as the kind of window into SYSPRO to capture the traceability, the physical movements on the site, and all that goes into SYSPRO, which is then the kind of brain and the central storage area, which kind of helps us run the rest of the business. So it really was an implementation, end-to-end EDI orders in from the retailers that we sell to, all the way through to cheese make, cheese cut in a packet, dispatch, and EDI invoicing out, and everything in between. So the goal at the bottom of this slide sums it up quite well. We want TransLution, or we use TransLution to make the system reflect reality, without asking the operators to become ERP specialists. I think Russell alluded to that in his kind of opening statements of wanting TransLution to be easy to use so that anybody can pick up a scanner or go to a screen and just read what it says to be able to achieve what they need to achieve in their day. Kind of touched on this already, so it is end-to-end. SYSPRO on TransLution hand in hand. I can't think of too many areas of the business that it doesn't touch. But again, the key people that TransLution kind of works for is the operator. And if we can make the operator's job easy, intuitive, then it means we get the information management and owners and directors need to be able to run the business in the kind of most efficient and effective way. I've covered this already as well. The shop floor activity, again, TransLution is a window. So from shop floor to SYSPRO, in this way, we got TransLution on the scanners, on the screens to capture, validate, integrate with SYSPRO. Without a TransLution, operators would need to probably work around the system. Some operators, I think I'm very lucky to work at a company where the operators that work with me and with us are generally very good, and the best ones seem to find ways around the system for the right reasons and with good intentions. But as I think probably all of us know on this call, you don't want that to happen, even if it's a good intention. You want them to follow the path that is laid before them. And again, TransLution, if you can design it well, and I'll come on to a slide later on, which kind of shows a little example of that process, it can make it easy for the guys to do their job, and everybody benefits. So I think I'm going to go on to a few examples now of what you need for Butlers and how we use it. So one is receiving stock. So the start of this is pretty generic, and every company needs to raise POs and document what comes in. But I think the reason I use this example is that prior to using TransLution, that raising POs, goods received, and against the PO quality checks. It was quite difficult in our previous system. It didn't kind of hang together that great. Whereas we started from the ground up with the guys at SYSPRO and TransLution when we were speccing out the system and the different apps that we wanted to build. And we rebuilt this process first, and then TransLution followed the process to create the app, which makes it really, really easy for us to book items in. Because again, we're a food manufacturer. There's a lot of goods that need to be lot traceable. So I know one of our unique points is that we track each cheese by a lot. So that we have hundreds of thousands of lots at any one time. And the same with some types of packaging as well. The food contact packaging, we need to be able to trace and match balance all the way through. We have a lot of audits during the year from customers and kind of legislative bodies. So this kind of third bit into the system when a good or a stock item arrives on site needs to be correct, because everything else downstream from that will fail without it. So the guys will raise a PO on SYSPRO, and the scanners will show what POs are due in that day. And they'll work through the menu in the scanner to basically a list of questions that says, okay, which order is it? Which stock item are you booking in? How many are you booking in? It will then ask the quality questions that are set. And within a few minutes of the goods arriving on site, the TransLution has recorded all the information. It's taken a photo of whatever you want to take a photo of, really. I think we take a photo of the delivery note. And if we want to take a photo of the goods to report a quality issue or anything like that we've got the option to do that as well. So within a few minutes of arriving on site, it's booked into stock. The quality checks are passed. It's a lot available on SYSPRO, and it's being put away. So there's a real low overhead to doing it this way compared to the way I've done it in the past. It's really mobile. It's really easy just to do at the point of kind of inception rather than having to go somewhere else to access a system. But it's not going to be more of a generic example that a lot of people will have to do. I think the next one is a little bit different and a little bit unique to cheese. So as I said before, cheese is a learning product, and grading cheese is a very, very important job. So we have 2 cheese graders. I think everybody who I speak to, when they found out I work for a company that makes cheese, they think I'm around eating cheese all day, which I do a little bit of, but the cheese graders really do that all day. And these guys are specialists in their field, and we need to make sure that their kind of knowledge and expertise that's in their head gets into a central system that the rest of us can actually do something with. Because the cheese is changing quality, it's changing maturity, we have to make decisions on what temperature to hold it at different points in its life. It really is hundreds of variables that can change how a cheese matures, and we collect so much data on that side of things, because cheese quality is the number one kind of important thing to us, and TransLution helps us monitor that by having a set of questions and a process which allows us to capture the variables that we want to capture. So number one will be a grade. So we give it a number that represents its quality. It allows us to put cheese on hold or release it from hold based on the information we put into the grading application. So that if it is on hold, it can't be used in production, and there's different workflows that can be triggered off that kind of stream. It allows us to track the maturity of the cheese and produce a grading timetable. So we've got hundreds of thousands of lots. We need to have a timetable that shows us what needs grading and when it'll be ready for use in cutting and packing and finally selling to the customer. So the grading app, again, is a very early on in the kind of workflow of the whole cheese's life, and really important that we can capture that information. And again, a combination of TransLution and SYSPRO really allows us to get that process, which is really niche to a cheesemaker, in and work and repeatable and robust really, really quickly. Because we don't just need to know where the stock is, we need to know what quality it is, how old it is, when is it going to be its premium for eating or cutting. And this little app is the start of that. It allows us to achieve what we set out to. Another kind of one in kind of the production areas, again, it could be quite unique to us, is that we need to weigh each case of finished goods that we produce. So really quickly, to keep up with the time, we take a large cheese, call it 20 kilos. We make that. We take in milk in the dairy, a 20 kilo block or round will pop out of the dairy. We will then cut and pack that into the wedges or the blocks you're probably all familiar with that you buy in the shops. And at that point in time, we need to put an outlet case on it and weigh it to make sure it is the correct weight for that customer. So TransLution have a product called Easy Weight, which we run on touchscreens connected to scales. So every single case that we produce goes onto a scale. Easy Way creates the lot. So we'll select the production job that has been planned in SYSPRO. And each time we put a case of cheese on scale, it will create a lot in SYSPRO, and it will use SYSPRO to configure the use by database and the different rules we've set. And it'll weigh it and it'll stand as a lot in SYSPRO, and then allows us to transfer it further down the line for dispatch and invoicing. So when we signed up with SYSPRO, I think I'm right saying that at the time, TransLution were the only guys that could do this weighing and labeling integration for us. They worked really well with one of my guys, Costa. So I've got a brilliant team over here who've kind of implemented this project very, very quickly as we built the new site. And one of the things that kind of I want to run through, or the themes to run through this whole presentation, is the way that the guys at TransLution have really, really worked well with the guys back at base and Butler, with me included, but more so the rest of the systems team that really, really do work hand in glove with TransLution, especially in implementation. That you're working together every day, so frictionless. And then post implementation, the support is, I would say, the best support that we've had from any partner ever in my kind of 15 years of experience. So it's meeting the niche of your business and fitting around those little kind of umps and nooks and cries that each business has got. Your TransLution kind of fills that gap really well. Let's see what the next example is. So picking and dispatch. I think, again, this is a very, very generic example that everybody does, but everybody wants to do it in a slightly different way. I think on the next slide. Yeah, so on the next slide, we completely overhauled the picking and dispatch process. And just on the right is kind of the process that we designed with one of the guys at SYSPRO. So our warehouse manager, myself, one of the SYSPRO consultants, mapped out the new process for dispatch to create the different bits of paperwork that different customers need, the different ASNs and different requirements that each customer requires to kind of fit in with their system. TransLution managed to achieve all of that complicated kind of, if it's this customer do this and that customer do the other. So the real complexity of rules, TransLution just rattled through and produced something that straight out of the box on go live. But I think it's really important. The point I've put the little process map on this slide is, if there's a few apps where we didn't do this, and it's much harder to kind of pick those up and run with them. You know, for the complicated apps where you can do a flow chart and get the process really clear, it makes it so much easier in the long run, even though it can feel like a bit of a drag at a time. I mean, in our implementation, we were planning and designing and implementing about 25 different applications. So we were really a big bang go live because of the new site. So there's a lot of these diagrams drawn, but they're standing the test of time. A year later, we still use them, and they work really well. Right, so a bit more on dispatch and just the different menus that TransLution show. I think I'm due to wrap up. So, kind of lessons for users from my point of view. Kind of recapping what I've said. Yeah, TransLution bridges the shop floor and SYSPRO. We couldn't use SYSPRO as effectively without TransLution as the window. It'd be much more difficult to do. Again, the operators can learn TransLution very, very quickly. It's down to the skill of how you design the apps with TransLution. It's very, very easy to pick up a scanner and just follow the prompts to achieve what that particular app needs to achieve. Add master data will service quickly. You don't need me to tell you that. Good point on validation, that there's so much validation you can put in, but it's a real balance between how much you put in and the speed of what happens on the shop floor. I know I had a few discussions with people in the warehouse of I wanted an extra bit of validation, but it meant that they would take an extra 2 seconds to scan. So it means that over a day it might add up to 2 hours and things like that. But then the beauty is that it is a sliding scale. You can do it, review it, and change it very quickly with the guys at TransLution. It's not that you put it in and then you've got to wait 2 months until someone can get to it. The speed and adapting is really there. Yeah, custom development needs ownership and control. I mean, we are quite a aggressive and fast-moving company, but there does have to be an element of that ownership and control. Otherwise, you can kind of disappear into the abyss. I mean, we haven't done that. We've done quite well, but there have been times where we've kind of developed an app and popped it live maybe a day or two sooner than it could have been. But that's the way we kind of work and the way we learn and adapt. So design the processes first, as I've already said. Keep SYSPRO as a single source of truth. And then I think that brings me to the end. I'm going to pass back to Russell. Thank you for listening. I look forward to the rest of the presentation.